Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Reading the Red. This rather unsettled morning, but I think it's going to be just fine. Mark chapter 2 and verse 5. And Jesus, seeing their faith, said to the paralyzed man, "Son, your sins are forgiven." And this story is when the friends let down the paralyzed man through the roof right in front of Jesus. And Jesus says these words, "My son, your sins are forgiven you." Now, they hadn't made all of that effort to get that man in front of Jesus for Jesus to forgive his sins. And yet Jesus knows exactly the problem with this man. And not every physical manifestation that's going on in our body is a direct result of a problem we've had with our body. Our bodies and our minds and our emotions and our spirits, our will, they all have a major impact on who we are and how well our body works. And in this situation, although the men wanted this man to be healed, is what they wanted to hear, and Jesus says to them, "My son, your sins are forgiven." Jesus could see that the psychological reality of this man's sickness in his paralyzed state was a direct implication to having a problem going on in his soul. His soul was sick, so his body was sick. And there are many people who have sick bodies, but don't need to have sick bodies if they are able to receive in their soul what needs to be happening in their soul that will enable them to be helped in their soul so that their bodies could recover. That sense of being healed and being made whole is much more than a physiological reality. And so the ministry of healing that Jesus demonstrated while he was walking around on the earth is incredibly complicated, and yet the application of that ministry is incredibly simple. Jesus would often confront the situation and he would tell the problem to leave the person. And in this case, the problem was this man's sin that was keeping him paralyzed. And Jesus says to him, "My son, your sins are forgiven you." We need to learn as Christians to speak to the problem, the solution. Too many of us have spent too many years speaking about the problem, telling God about the problem, when we should be speaking to the problem, the solution. And I think when we learn to speak fluently in regards to the dealing with the problem, we will grow in our success rate in regards to ministering to ourselves and to others. Learning to do ministry the way Jesus did it. He is our model. And he says to this paralyzed man, "My son, your sins are forgiven you." And straight after he did that, the man got up, took up his pallet and went home. And Jesus used that to demonstrate to those skeptical people around him that he had the authority to speak to sickness and speak to souls that were wounded. Thank you for joining me. Be blessed. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.